Well, I complain, but not so much. Your choices. So, things like this. That wasn't the big deal. The big deal was the resin came in session at the end of the meeting. Just supporting the changing of science teaching. So that's the one that yeah. We'll see where it goes. Yes, that's right. Yeah, so
your Japanese colleagues.
That's right, yes. So they Kimberly's classes for the Stanford. They're better examples.
Yeah, I was there, but Blake actually Blake was teaching that
Yeah, so research.
last time we were here.
Spend enough time in
Anyway,
see you. Yeah.
See you.
Spent a lot of time there. When I went into school,
That's it's good to meet you.
Okay, you can hear us now, Candace?
I'm here.
Okay, great, perfect.
Thanks so much. You're welcome.
and there yes, yeah.
Just want to make sure. Okay.
I've been known for appropriate things, so.
I want you to know that this is the cat.
I'm Steve Waller, Dean of Instruction at Bakersfield College.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, this is really important for my faculty and for our students. We're all.
It's always the most common. Just like
Okay. Yeah, it's a busy week this week.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for coming.
I woke up early and I woke up at
Yeah, excellent. And you bring me on the conversation. Yes. So you also are going to be. Okay. Continue again. I need some water. I'm dehydrated.
Yes, excellent. Well, it has some very strong results
From UNBC. Yes. I was just at HHMI. At the.
If you ever need it.
Okay.
You have 5 years. Yeah, they've experienced.
I am.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to it.
Steve O'Malley.
Yeah.
Steve Waller from Bakersfield College.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Everybody.
Morning, good morning.
Welcome to the second meeting of the California Education Learning Lab Selection Committee meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Lark Park. I'm the director of the Learning Lab, and I'm going to be serving as the moderator for today's meeting. With me are Kristen Stein over there and Beth Hotchkiss over here, who are also team members of the Learning Lab. So the first order of business is to call the roll. Please indicate here or present. Gutierrez.
Here or present.
Goslin.
Here or present.
How about here and present?
Oh,
Kwong.
and present.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's counting?
Matsui.
Here.
Tanner. Here. Teal.
Here.
Okay. We can hear you. We seem to have lost the video momentarily, but we can hear you. Wyman.
Here.
Okay. And Kristen, if you want to ask our friends for help.
There we go.
Oh, there we are. Okay. We also, it seems, have a few members joining us by Zoom. The meeting will be broadcast via Zoom until we adjourn open session. And Tristan will be moderating to see if anybody wants to make a comment who's joined us by Zoom. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'll provide a really brief overview of the Learning Lab and the RFP, followed by asking each of the selection committee members to reintroduce yourselves for the record, and then we'll proceed with a brief overview of the day, roles and responsibilities, and then move on to public comment if there is any. I believe we have a sign-in sheet in the, oh, Tristan has it right here. So if you haven't signed in, please do. And then before we get started, I just wanted to thank the California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office and the Foundation for the California Community Colleges for letting us use this technology-enabled space. Last time we were in this beautiful building in San Francisco, but we had to literally pass around this iPad, or Tristan actually had to pass around this iPad in order to get broadcast going, and we did have some technical difficulties. So this is a nice space to be in. So as most of you know, the California Education and Learning Lab is a new state program housed in the Governor's Office of Planning and Research, and we are funded as an annual program that began in the 18-19 school year at $10 million with the express purpose of improving learning outcomes and closing equity and achievement gaps in our public higher education systems. As you know, we released our first RFP called Improving Equity, Accessibility, and Outcomes for STEM Gateway Courses in the middle of December of last year. 42 faculty teams came together within a very short period of time to submit brief concept proposals that had support from department chairs and deans or other institutional leadership. These concept proposals were distributed to a group of readers, both from inside and outside California, that had disciplinary expertise as well as learning science expertise and educational expertise. Readers scored these proposals on a scale of 1 to 5 according to a published rubric, and also provided a brief qualitative evaluation. We convened that first meeting on February 4th in San Francisco, and the selection committee members here reviewed all 42 proposals, including the external evaluations, deliberated in closed session for hours, and chose to recommend 21 proposals to move forward to the next round. These recommendations were reviewed and accepted by the Deputy Director of the Governor's Office of Planning and Research, and we announced those finalists on February 5th. The 21 finalist teams were given several weeks to develop and submit their proposals, which were reviewed again by the selection committee members and external readers. So during today's meeting, most of it which is going to take place in closed session under the deliberation exemption allowed by statute, the selection committee will again deliberate the 21 finalist projects for final award, and we anticipate the recommendations will result in about 6 to 9 projects being recommended for award of between $1 to $1.5 million to spend over a 3-year period. and we anticipate announcing the awards on or around April 24. So please note that projects that's selected for award may not receive the exact dollar amount reflected in the budget request. The final amount will be subject to the negotiation of final agreement between your institution and the Governor's Office of Planning and Research. So I want to just ask if there are any questions or comments from the committee members before we move to introductions. Okay. Why don't we start over here with John Matsui. We're going to go around, and then after Kimberly, we'll ask Candace to say a few words about herself and her work, and then we'll ask Roar Saxberg, who's our technical advisor on this RFP, to also introduce himself at the end. So, John.
So good morning, everybody. I'm John Matsui from UC Berkeley. I co-founded and direct a program called the Biology Scholars Program. It's a program for undergraduates who intend to major in biology and pursue a biology-related career. It's a mature program. I started it in '92. Over 3,500 students have participated in the program. 80% of the students are first to college, low income, 70% women, 60% underrepresented ethnic minority students. And these students come in less well prepared to succeed at Berkeley than their peers. And yet they graduate on par with a biology degree and an equivalent exit GPA as their peers. And so my goal is to expand the pool, to develop talent. We need that talent. Skimming, in my mind, is not the way to meet our STEM workforce needs. And my program is attempting to do something about that. Last thing, and I'll keep it really brief, we're also trying to disseminate the best practices of BSP throughout the entire UC campus around advising, mentoring, and teaching, so that we will begin to fix the institution rather than trying to fix the student.
Carlos Gutierrez, professor of chemistry at California State University, Los Angeles. And if 1992 makes him a seasoned, I started in 1975. I've been director of the MARC program since 1978, and then of the RISE program since 1992. The numbers aren't as big as John's, but the success stories have been phenomenal. Cal State LA's alums, and they're generally the alums of these programs, underrepresented students who complete UC PhDs, science PhDs, 88% of them went through these programs at Cal State LA, and Cal State LA is #1 with this distinction amongst the 23 campuses of the CSU. In the last 19 years or so, about 160 students have completed the PhD, and 148 are in PhD programs. They can start with a GPA as low as 2.5. That's fine. They finish well, and they graduate at rates of about 98%, which is like twice the campus average. And again, they're going off to PhD programs and doing just fine.
Hi, my name is Jessica Kwong. I teach mathematics in Oxnard College, and I was the distant learning committee chair for a few years. Now I'm the OER liaison of the college. Currently, I'm working on a couple different OER projects and try to save money for the underrepresented students.
Hello, Stephen Kosselin. I'm president and CEO of something called Foundry College, which is a startup. We're not even a year old yet. We're designed to help working adults gain the knowledge and skills that allow them to get jobs that will not be easily automated.
I'm Carl Wyman. I'm a professor of physics at Stanford University, also a professor in the Graduate School of Education. I long career doing research on undergraduate science in terms of both the learning and enhanced teaching of it, and in recent years focusing particularly on the different demographic groups and how they may be affected by different, they have different outcomes, how they may be affected by different teaching methods. Also, I started the PhET project with online interactions for teaching math and science, which you now use more than 100 million times a year from all across.
I'm Kimberly Tanner, and I am a professor of biology at San Francisco State University. And important things to know about me: I'm a first-generation college-going person. I'm a neurobiologist by training, so I think about teaching and learning in terms of the brain, science learning. And I never intended to be a faculty member, so I came to San Francisco State about 15 years ago from K through 12 education to try and understand how science was being taught at the college level, because that has an enormous influence on how our K through 12 teachers choose to teach science, and then how the short people in our community get to experience science. And I have stayed as long as I have because I found communities, not just at my institution, but across the country, of scientists who want to be the best ambassadors of their discipline they can be, but they land in these positions with virtually no training in how to effectively teach what they know to novices. And I will say at San Francisco State, we've sort of moved into an era where you can no longer predict who leaves a biology major based on personal demographics, and we're really proud of that work.
Great. Candace, can you say a few words about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Candace Till. I'm an associate professor in the Graduate School of Education at Stanford University. I'm also affiliate faculty in the Stanford Neurosciences Interdepartmental Program. I am currently on leave from Stanford University, serving as the Director of Learning Science and Engineering at Amazon. And I was the founding director of the Open Learning Initiative at Carnegie Mellon University, and also been at Stanford University. The Open Learning Initiative, my research is basically designing open web-based learning environments based on what we believe we understand about human learning, and then using those environments to further do research and understand human learning. I also served on the Technical Advisory Committee for the Association of American Universities STEM Initiative and the Advisory Council for the National Science Foundation Directorate for Education and Human Resources.
Great.
I'm Roar Saxberg. I head up learning sciences at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, which is a philanthropy based in the Bay Area. I started my career as a research person, but over many years, I transitioned from trying to understand how the mind and the brain works and processes information to more of an engineering orientation. How do we use what we know about learning sciences and about curriculum and about outcomes and all of those things, cognitive sciences, how do we use that to actually solve real world learning problems at scale, using technology, people, families, communities, all kinds of things all mixed up together. And so I have been trying to be helpful to this process here as a technical advisor to our in the group here.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to go over a couple of brief things, and then we'll go to public comment. In case people in the room have any public comment, we'll ask you first. And then I would ask anybody who's joining us by Zoom who's interested in making a public comment, if you can maybe chat, send us a chat message saying that you want to speak, then Tristan can figure out how to unmute you so you can speak, but let us know. And, pardon?
He can walk around on the side.
Exactly, that's very high tech. I do want to say that because this is a technology-enabled room, the microphones are in the ceiling, but please use your outdoor voice if you can, so that everybody can hear you. And most of you are faculty, so I know you have an outdoor voice. So let's see. So we have a very esteemed selection committee and technical advisor. I wanted to point out that statute actually requires the convening of an expert selection committee and to recommend proposals to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research. And the role of the selection committee is to provide full, fair, impartial, and independent consideration of the proposals that they've been asked to review, and each has indicated their ability to do so in the conflict of interest acknowledgement and statement of impartial evaluation that each member of the selection committee signed. Selection committee members that have an identified conflict will recuse themselves from the deliberation on that specific proposal, and we'll ask you to step outside during the closed session if you believe you do have such a conflict. And then even if you don't have an actual conflict, if you believe that there's a sufficient appearance of conflict that warrants it, you may do so as well. My participation will be limited to serving as the moderator for this meeting, keeping time, addressing any logistical questions, and making sure that all the committee members have a chance to speak. Beth and Tristan are here also to answer any questions, take notes on the meeting, and provide any other support to the selection committee members. This process is being treated as confidential until the announcement of awards are made. And again, we anticipate making this announcement on or around April 24th. We will post the names of the awarded projects after we make the notifications to all 21 finalist teams. We intend to follow up with all 42 applicant teams, perhaps only the PI or a couple of co-PIs, maybe on a Zoom call as well, to see how we can make subsequent RFPs better. We already know that we gave you a very short time to address a very long list of important questions. And we very much appreciate the effort that has been made, but we'd love to hear back from you how we can improve future RFPs. So are there any questions or comments before we listen to members of the public? Okay, so if you can, if you want to speak, you may just stand up and using your outdoor voice, make your comment. We are not going to limit you in your time, but please speak at an appropriate length of whatever is on your mind. So where would we like to start? Anybody?
Sure,
okay.
Where can we get?
Please introduce yourselves, your name, your affiliation.
Okay, so my name is Paul Daubenmeier. I'm at the College of Marin. It's a community college just north of the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm here with my colleague, Angie Stacy. She's a professor of chemistry at UC Berkeley. And we're part of a team of 8 co-PIs, including Diablo Valley College, east of the Bay Area, and Sonoma State, north of the Bay Area. So thank you for this opportunity. I think I'll just stand here. I was going to step forward. I just actually wanted to start with an anecdote about one of my students recently who is, according to the traditional model of education, just barely failing my class. She's right at the cusp. And I pulled her over. She basically just said, well, I need to cook a meal for my mom before I come to class, so that's why I'm always coming late to lecture. And I use that as an opportunity to find out a little bit more about her. And it turns out she is the official language translator for her language in the UCSF hospital system. And she has been admitted to an out-of-state medical school starting this fall. And the only requirement she has is to go back and fix up one Gen Chem class from 20 years ago whose grade didn't match. And so here she is struggling with some minutia and calculations, arithmetic or logarithmic calculations, and it has nothing to do with her capacity to serve as a very wonderful medical doctor one day. And so I just got exposed right there as a young instructor that I'm in a system that does not acknowledge the talents that people bring to the classroom and don't give them an opportunity to build off of those talents as students. And this is, I would say, endemic, not just at the community college level, but across the academic portfolio, is we fail to acknowledge the talents that our students come to class with. And so we need to, and I actually would like to put the burden on the selection committee for you all to change this culture. You have a wonderful opportunity, as we know, with an infusion of resources to say, we'd like to see something different than how things have been going in California since 1962, since the master plan came out. So I'd just like to bring this out that we are not just here to propagate today more school scientists and more novel ways of delivering using technology, traditional school science. But let's find ways to help students do science at a very basic level, all students to do science, And at even a further level, for these students to think of themselves as scientists. Just like you wouldn't call Tiger Woods a guy who plays golf, right? Tiger Woods is a golf player at a minimum. We'll applaud his masters later. But we want our students to not just walk through and say, oh, I just barely got through that science class. We want them to walk through life incorporating the principles they got from our chemistry class, bringing those to all aspects of their career, their family life, and educating their future generations. And so the hard work here actually goes to the faculty. And we realize our faculty, as this recent report came out, the mindset of the faculty can have a great impact on the trajectory of their students. And I think it came out of Indiana or Purdue. It's just mind-boggling how linked it is that what you believe as a faculty member can change the experience of your students as they're sitting there in the class. And so part of our proposal was to say we faculty need to have a growth mindset. We need to move out. And so we're proposing to do some mindset development, changing what we acknowledge our valued talents in our faculty pool. In the anecdote, again, this is the negative side of my anecdote. I have a student I've been working diligently with for 11 weeks, and here we are at the end. The end is in sight, and she comes up to me and she just says, well, I'm planning to drop your class. And I saw her rise from an F to a D to a B minus with an A in sight, and she basically just acknowledged the way the constraints are set up for her to get into nursing school. It's not going to be okay for her to not have an A in my class. And she's this close to an A in anatomy, and she's just this far above my defined cusp of what a B is to go on to nursing school. And I'm almost traumatized. That happened last week, that I, as an instructor, upholding a system where I, as a faculty, define what good is, am limiting this person in their capacity to go forward. So I feel like our proposal has also addressed this aspect of how do we change and develop the faculty mindset. I've already mentioned this will require time. This will require release time for development. This obviously the funds are part of that. But where I'd really like to focus the resources is on our face time. Yes, we're paid to talk to students in front of them in the classroom, but is that the most effective way of our face time? And I think the committee is convening to say, let's find other ways for faculty to spend their face time in front of students. Great, if there's an online lecture or there's a talking head. But that talking head is not going to engage the students who are struggling with many different entry points into this content. And so we'd like to just consider how could we more effectively, I don't have the right adjective, efficiently, productively channel the face time so that every instructor is spending their time engaging learners, utilizing all of the outside resources that already exist and that we will develop to lead our students to success. And that means moving outside of the realm where I talk for 3 hours at the front of a lecture, but moving into a realm, as I've been seeing patterns of this, of facilitators working with that knowledge, causing students to really grapple and do hard work with data sets and real life problems that they walk away from feeling, I didn't just learn some chemistry, but I learned how to solve a problem. And this is a stick-to-itiveness, and this is a grit that I can now bring to my next challenge. So just to conclude, I just want to reiterate, and it's not coincidental that we're in the California Community College building, which claims to educate the top 100% of all students in California. That's our claim. And I think we do it pretty well. And so I think our class sizes of 24 are the perfect size to work with students, but having colleagues at the UC level, at the CSU level, we have these entry-level gateway classes in all the systems. And so we're able to engage learners right where it gets hard, right when they first enter and show them, don't wait, and we won't wait for you to hit those roadblocks. Let's get you through together. And this, I believe, is an opportunity to reconceive collaboration across the master plan. I think for too long, we're going on 50 plus years, there's been silos, UC, CSU, community college. But if you talk to our students, they are very fluid. They'll take a class here, they'll take a class there. Wherever they can get educated, they'll get educated. We as faculty, we're pretty much burrowed into our compartment and departments. So I'd like to just leave that with you all, that this isn't just a selection committee for this year's cycle, but this is actually an opportunity to have an influence on the trajectory of higher education in California.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Steve Waller, Dean of Instruction from Bakersfield College. I'm really happy to be part of a team that includes Cal State Bakersfield and UC Merced. This collaboration for the past few weeks of trying to determine what our major challenges are right now for STEM education and addressing those in a creative way was very positive to begin with. Our overall approach is a constructivist approach where students are learning based upon their experiences and based upon some guidance, both in the classroom and outside the classroom. It is not necessarily one cohesive project because we have very different needs at a UC level as we do at a community college level, but that sharing will occur through both contextualization from energy topics as well as sharing some pedagogy that we want to go forward with at the community college level as well as at Cal State. So at Bakersfield College specifically, we have a really strong set of chemists. We have 9 full-time chemistry faculty, most with PhDs. When I talk to them about what we can do to improve students being able to achieve their chemistry courses for their gen ed or as chemistry for their major, then they immediately said POGIL. They have been on the cutting edge of doing things like flipped classrooms, but they've struggled with flipped classroom as the students come into the classroom and the faculty try to get students to be engaged with the material. Many times the students will watch a video that the instructor made, but then passively sit in the classroom even when the instructor is trying to yank them into the conversation, which is the goal of a flipped classroom. And process-oriented guided inquiry learning, POGIL, started in chemistry at Franklin and Marshall College in 1999, but they got a NSF grant starting 2002 to kind of make this a national effort. Guided inquiry learning is where you give students some information, and then they get questions that lead them down the garden path of thinking critically to solve problems. The process-oriented guided inquiry learning is where the students work essentially in groups of 4. It's very structured. Each student has a role within that group, and that role rotates every week. So that way students share roles of either leading the group, recording, reporting, or trying to be problem solvers within the group. This removes the passivity of students just waiting for an answer. They have to construct their answers. They have to learn from each other. They can't be a community of learners, which we're also faced with in some of our math classes as we move towards AB 705 compliance and co-requisite support for math, where we have students sitting in labs and they're staring at each other and one smart student figures out the answers and the other 3 write them down. This is a process in which every student has to be involved. So we start with chemistry, this really strong desire of my chemists to really explore how they can effectively use POGIL because it's been part of chemistry. But I've only asked 2 of my chemistry faculty to be part of this because I don't have to do much to get them to move down the pathway of using POGIL. But I also brought in math faculty, physics, astronomy, earth science, geology, and biology. So that way it'll be a broad impact on all of our sciences, especially for the gen ed students where they struggle the most. And then when we try to use POGIL, our goal is actually to take POGIL, process-oriented guided inquiry learning, and get these exercises to match the online content that students will use in a flipped classroom model, contextualize the lessons towards issues that are important in the Central Valley, things like the environment and energy. As we do this, we're going to build up a whole breadth of scientific teaching methods that focus on student learning constructivism and be able to share that with our CSU and UC partner and learn from them as they do other processes to help students learn in a contextualized and in a constructivist way. I think what we'll wind up with is a complete change in the culture of how we're approaching STEM education at Bakersfield College that can easily be transmitted across all of the community colleges in California. I think this is critical for us at this stage where we are faced not only with AB 705, but with students who have come through learning by very, very passive ways of watching videos, taking notes using their cell phone camera, and thinking that they got it when they don't have it at all. POGIL has been shown to help students be more successful in passing classes and then also retaining that information. So that is our ultimate goal at Bakersfield College. And I think as we work with our partners and other faculty at Cal State and UC, that will become part of how they help students learn for the future. I think it's going to be a major, major, major cultural shift. And I am happy to have faculty that are really on board, many more than are listed in our proposal, because I wanted to focus this on some key faculty and then let the others think that this is something they want to come on board with. You don't want to give it all to all of them because it won't be special enough. You have to give it to a few and let the other ones beg for it. So my faculty will be all over it once we get this funding. I appreciate that opportunity from this particular committee. Thanks.
I'd like to just add a couple of words to that. I'm Alan Fuchs. I'm the director of the California Energy Research Center at Cal State Bakersfield, and I met most of you when I was up here earlier. And it's been really a great experience working with Bakersfield College and UC Merced, putting together our ideas for this proposal. I just would like to mention that the ideas related to POGIL really came out of Bakersfield College. And I've really become interested in the process-oriented part of it because I teach design. I've taught it for 20 years. And I think there are a lot of ideas in a very formalized design approach that fit very well with this pedagogy. So we've already started talking about that, and I intend to see that be a major part of it. Another piece of it, though, that I'd like to just mention briefly is more of the engineering and the science side of it, that I think we bring a lot of that from Cal State Bakersfield and UC Merced. I've worked with Abbas for about 20 years. On issues related to energy and sustainability. And so in Bakersfield, energy is a major area with respect to solar, with respect to bioenergy, with respect to wind, and with respect to oil and gas, as well as water and agriculture. So those are areas that we've been focusing on the last 2 years since I've been the director, and I look forward to bringing those ideas into these pedagogy kind of approaches.
Thank you.
I'm Abbas Qasimi. I also thank you very much for my colleagues and co-PIs here. I joined UC Merced about 1.5 years ago. I retired as a center director and administrative functions and professor in chemical engineering, where I implemented programs that was NSF and DOE funded, looking at innovation in education. Not every learner learns the material the same way because human subjects are variable, and therefore the teaching methodology has to take that into account and offer variability. And that means that we have to be able to hit on every cylinder to get the STEM to work right. We have to have that flexibility in our approach. So we've seen a whole lot of success in that, but I was in my previous life in other institution. And that's where Alan and I collaborated. When I came to UC, I saw a similar kind of thing with my colleague here, Chris Butler. Mr. Butler's program is similar kind of approach in bringing the classroom in a more learning kind of style. And I have embraced it. I've become involved with it and have taken it on. And the goal really of our partnership is to be able to get various level courses, gateway all the way through the fourth year, to be able to get, if there is such a thing as fourth year, because most of the students do not graduate in 4 years, but to get the students to actually begin to get involved and learn without being forced to learn in a lecture style kind of thing, and actually do hands-on critical thinking, all the things that we have to do. I prior to being in academia, I was senior level in one of the major companies, and one of the things that we always looked at was we would go to a place, hire the best and the brightest they had to offer, bring them on board. The first thing we had to do was deprogram them for them to be able to learn the methodologies by which made this corporation of ours successful. And I think that's the message that we like to continue to present in our proposal, that we are getting the students to focus on energy as an example. That's one of the focus areas we have. But energy itself is not only related to the concept of oil and gas, solar, wind, geothermal. It's this overall concept of what it is and what it is not, and how it impacts to water and food and all the other networks that goes along with it. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to be part of this. Mr. Butler, you want to say a couple of words?
Yeah. My name's Chris Butler, and I'm going to say thank you. I'm a success story, native to the Central Valley in California, and I am a product of our education system. I spent 6 years at a junior college. I was highly unmotivated when I made it out of high school. Over the course of my education, I learned how to think. And I don't say that because it was inside of a classroom and my education was really inside of a classroom, but I learned how to think when I was doing road construction. And I'd get the walkie-talkie and somebody would say, figure it out. And we had a deadline and we had to get stuff done, and I would. I later on, as I went to school to become an engineer, I went through the community college system and paid my dues there. Like I said, 6 years at my 2-year institution, and received valuable insights into the things that I had already learned in my previous life, you could say, and then was able to take those and learn the theories and why things actually work, not just the how and what to do. When I moved into the UC system and graduated there, it was more of the same. And where I truly learned, I had this conversation earlier with Beth, a little bit about how I learned when I got out of school. When I went back and looked at my books to go find what I needed to know in real life, and I retained it at that point. I'm privileged to work in the human-centered research and design course at UC Merced now, where I get to work with students from all of our backgrounds, all discipline levels, freshmen through seniors, biology and sociology and Spanish literature and engineering students of all varieties, to work on common real-life goals. And we do real-life projects where we have real-life deliverables, where we are working with local nonprofits in public health and in economic development and in K through 12 STEM education, and very much learning by doing. And so, most times, learning after doing. And we all know the students that we work with, right? These are students that come from, that are real life students, that aren't just, they're not privileged, right? They go home and they have to make dinner for their mom. And they experience real life. And this is our future. I'm thankful for the opportunity for you, providing us to be able to develop these partnerships and help make these partnerships better so that way we can have a pipeline. Most of the students that come through my course, they don't have the opportunity to experience education along the way because they're taught in traditional forms. And through this RFP, we're able to help, you are able to help support us and to build this pipeline, to continue it from community college and Cal States and UCs and to help support our students in whatever areas that they're going to be going into. Because it's not just, we don't want just STEM majors working in STEM, because that's not how it works in real life when they leave, right? If you had, I say this often, and I'll make this brief. If you have a bunch of engineers working on stuff, speaking as an engineer, yeah, right? Only engineers on the team. We need our psychology people. We need our marketing people, because as engineers and as STEM folks, we tend to focus on things and not always how things interact with people, nor do how people interact with those things. But we need to have these truly multidisciplinary opportunities for our students, for our future, to work together, because it's practice and they need the opportunities to mess up. What better place while they're in school than when they make it into the real world. Anyways, I was a little rambly. I apologize for that, but thank you for the opportunity for us to be part of this, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else in the room? Okay, Tristan, do we have anybody?
I don't believe so. I think we did have one, a message to John, though.
Do you want to read it?
One of the participants, Kambiz Hamadani from Cal State San Marcos, mentions that he was a Berkeley Biology Scholars Program participant, and sends his thanks.
Oh, wow. You're most welcome. Thank you.
Okay, great. If there's nobody else on Zoom who wishes to make a comment, we will conclude the public comment portion. And we plan to go into closed session, and then at the end of closed session, we will convene very briefly again an open session to report out the high-level recommendations that will likely mean sort of the number of projects that have been recommended to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research for final award. We estimate coming back into open session about 3:45, but that is, you can't really hold us to that. We'll just go back into open session when we're done. But we will have both open session portions available on our website, probably in a couple days' time. We will post them. So with that, I just want to really thank the members of the selection committee for all the time and effort, and our technical advisor for the time and effort they've given in making this a fair and robust evaluation process. I also wanted to thank our external readers who gave us the benefit of their time and expertise. And I really wanted to recognize all 42 faculty teams that came together to participate in this RFP process. When we started, we really didn't know at all what kind of response we would get, and especially given the time constraints. And we were really, frankly, quite inspired by the number of faculty teams that came together and what they put together. It shows us, I think, that there's really a great hunger to serve the students of California, public higher education, better, and to really just make these learning environments things that work for them. And we know that this is not only for their individual benefit, but for our benefit as a state. So with that acknowledgement, I want to conclude today's portion of open session, and we will reconvene in closed session, in about 10 minutes. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.